Well, hello there. Hello, hello. So, let me just make sure everything is okay ish. Alright. Seems okay, I think. Let me just double check the audio as best I can here. Give me a second. Alright. I think we might be good. Alright, so it has been quite a while. I'm not actually sure how long. It might have been a week. Kind of felt like an eternity, if I'm being honest. But let me just double check. So July 29th, which was a week, so 8 days ago, which is basically a week in my terms, yes. So like a whole week, and then the week in review, basically. So yes, a business week essentially. This kind of felt like I was away for like, I don't know, 20 trillion years, Like I felt like I was away for like 8 weeks or something. Kind of insane. I'm not sure what it was that made me feel like that. Maybe I was like super stressed or something. Because I've been like drawing for every day, literally without missing a single day for like 800 days or something, right? And I think I just wanted to try, or rather, not just I think, I most definitely just wanted to try a different approach, a project based approach. So that's what we're going to do. I want to focus more on doing things that I'm interested in, you know, a lot more, like actually interested in, like not just in the immediate, but things that I look at that make me like feel emotions, which is kind of weird, you know, growing up in like a sort of traditional household as a man, right? Feeling emotions is like evil. No, I'm joking, but um, I didn't really draw, for the, how to say, I haven't been drawing for myself, I feel like, which is, I think, one of the worst ideas and one of the biggest, like, beginner mistakes, the, the biggest traps you fall into when you start and set out on your journey to learn how to draw. And unfortunately, it took me this long to realize that I've fallen into this trap. And so I'm course correcting, you know? And I think this week off time really helped, you know? And it's not like, realistically speaking, I have an audience to lose with this. Like, as much as I make myself believe that I'm currently talking to someone, right? The only person actually listening is my own mind, right? So, like, there is the possibility of someone at some point in the far off future finding this channel, right? And being like, oh, I found a gold mine. Oh, I didn't think. Oh, this favorite artist of mine has had this channel for always and ever. Which would be nice, But we'll see how far I take this little passion of mine. I do have plans, obviously, a general direction why I want to take all of this. Obviously, I want to um, create games, or more so in a more general sense. I want to create experiences for people. I want to, like, essentially um, take you on an adventure. I want to take you to places where you haven't ever been to, and I want to do that through any means that I can. At this point in time, it's probably just going to be a lot of drawings, a lot of different drawings. I want to develop first and foremost, like, my ability to draw landscapes, because I'm really interested in that. And even though I've said multiple times in the beginning that I like mechs, which isn't false, I do like them. I like machines. I like guns. I like explosions. I like women. Like big breasts, thick thighs, all that stuff. Obviously, I'm a man after all, right? But more than that, and I'll just try and give you an example so that we have a more concrete uh, basis of discussion here. I enjoy the fantasy aspect of an adventure. Like, how do I mean this? I don't necessarily mean the genre itself. It doesn't strictly have to be something like um, Lord of the Ring esque, Lord of the Rings esque stories. It doesn't necessarily have to be dragons flying in the background, spewing fire and shit. Not that at all. It's more so the possibility of endless freedom and possibilities captured within a frame, you know, that intrigues me immensely in some art pieces that I want to be able to create myself. But I'll just give you an example, and then we'll go into more detail of what I actually mean here. So let me just get some of the reference here that I'm going to use for today. Um, I'm not quite sure through what medium we're gonna learn today. I'll keep my options open. Maybe I'll try a little bit of concept art, like sketches. You know, maybe I'll start out with a few sketches. I have to warm up anyway, so that might just be a decent idea. Because I'm honestly just not the type of person, I think, to particularly enjoy mindlessly repetitive studies. I can do them, and occasionally I do enjoy them. Like, for example, I do have games, video games, like hard what is it, hardship, no, what's it, shipbreaker, something shipbreaker. It's essentially a job simulator, um, where you play like a scrapper on a where essentially you as a human take the function um, of a machine to disassemble spaceships. You go in and you start small and disassemble every part of a spaceship. You know, and it's pretty menial work, and it's once you understand what you're doing, um, you can basically turn off your brain. You know, I understand that sort of work very easily, and I do enjoy it. Um, but I wouldn't do it unless I'm getting paid for it. If you know what I mean. So, you know. Okay. Now I have to do a puzzle just to be able to log into Pinterest. All right. So, so. Overall, just to get back to what we were initially talking about, I just enjoy environmental storytelling or just storytelling and world building in general. I like um, projects like Monster Garden, for example, very much, you know. And while that isn't necessarily um, something that focuses strictly on like environmental storytelling, obviously a lot of the world building consists of environmental storytelling because it's not just characters, right? That tell a story about a world. It's the buildings, right? It's the buildings, it's the cities that obviously consist of buildings. It's how the streets, or rather the paths, find their way through the mountains or the hillsides, you know, or the plains and such. You know, even that can technically tell a story about the world. You know, is there even, you know, these sorts of paths? Because technically the lack of, say, a network of um, these sort of footpaths, you know, or transport networks as you would have in medieval Europe, right? Um, could tell a story about your world. Perhaps your world has teleporters because there's magic or something, you know? Then there wouldn't be a need for these footpaths really to exist, right? Or very sparingly. There wouldn't be a vast network of them. Or perhaps you don't have any of that, and it's a post apocalyptic medieval society or world, you know, where people don't leave the town because if you do that, you're just dead. Because there's like, I don't know, monsters outside everywhere. But anyway, I just enjoy environmental storytelling a lot, you know, because you can do a lot of things without ever having touched, you know, the design part of a character, without ever even having designed a single character. You can tell a lot about your world. Sorry about that. So anyway, let me show you some of the things, some of the pieces that intrigue me personally, you know. Unfortunately, I'm not the personality type or the kind of character, as in like person, to be on social media a whole lot, so I don't know a whole lot of other artists, which is a detriment to my own like development as an artist, right? Because like I'm not a good artist, right? Because I'm starting out, which causes me to have to learn all of that shit on my own. Since there's only really two ways to learn how to draw. You either have a master in a way, right? Or you learn it yourself, or piece it together, right? Sparingly, which is essentially what a lot of beginners, I think, do. And that takes a lot of time and effort and wastes a lot of effort and therefore time. So, yeah, um, unfortunately, that is a function of me just not being the type of person to be on like Instagram or um, what's it called, like ArtStation or what's the other? I think is DeviantArt still like a decent art website? I wouldn't. Hell, I don't even know that. Um, but yeah, I'm just not the type of person to be on all of these like websites. So, and unfortunately, the only other artist I have thus far found on YouTube um, that essentially would cover this shortcoming of mine is very much a character illustrator, you know, or that's what he is aiming for, you know, which, if that's something you're interested in, I can only encourage you to look for Davi, like with three I's. Yes. So like Art of Davi is his handle on YouTube. Um, you can check him out. He does some very interesting art. Um, most of it character illustrations, as far as I can tell. Um, some member stuff, as far as I remember. Um, very loose sketches that I want to learn from, but I just haven't really, you know, come to terms with the with Critter. You know, like I can use Critter to sketch this sort of thing pretty easily, but beyond that, when I try to go into, let me actually, instead of yapping, get you one of the images I was talking about earlier. Um, when I get into like proper digital art, quote unquote, right, and not this pseudo traditional sketching, which is very much what I'm trying to replicate here, right, with these sketches. This looks very much like I'm drawing on a piece of paper, right, which is my intention. This is very much my intention. I like the look and the feel of, you know, drawing traditionally, because that's what I am used to. That's what I like. That's what I enjoy. And so that's what I'm trying to replicate, you know, which leaves a lot of options on the table, since digital art has a lot more possibilities, you know, that I'm just not using, which unfortunately, whatever. Anyway, um, I feel like last time I was drawing, I almost had like some sort of epiphany. But I do at least know what what I desperately need to improve on, which is like turning shapes or form in 3D space, as you can tell here. Like this looks really terrible, and that essentially just involves, or just quote unquote, you know, taking a reference piece and redrawing it without any specific reference in a different angle, you know. That's definitely where I'm currently stuck. If we're just talking about general, you know, art issues, I guess. But again, where are my boards at? There we are. I'm yapping. Very sorry about that. Where are my boards? Boards, landscapes. There we are. landscapes. So there was this one particular image. I hope I saved it yesterday. I did. And obviously I have to be in like the right mood for all of this, which I'm not when I'm yapping, you know, incessantly about all the fucking random shit that I, you know, think about. But why do I have this twice in my landscapes? Must have saved it one too many times. Okay, so unfortunately, I don't know who the artist is. I'm just gonna assume that some Asian made this. Perhaps. Just kind of looks like it. Some of the shading is just it's kind of off, you know. It's kind of looks like a human made this, but at the same time, it kind of looks like AI made this. So this might be the case of being touched up, you know, because I just see some of the shading being like inconsistent. Because like, you know, the background is very painterly. The environment overall is, in fact, actually very painterly. The shading is very, very subtle and subdued, you know, the shadows, even where they should be more, um, how should I say, where they should be darker, you know? And then the characters are just like almost cell shaded, you know? Which just doesn't work. Now that I'm having a second look, I think this is actually AI generated, hands down, you know? Because, like, I don't think a wheel is supposed to clip through a stone, you know? Yeah, this is actually AI generated. I wonder who it was trained on, because I would love to hmm, um, I'd love to yeah. Sorry, I forgot my train of thought because I was reading some of the comments, but yeah, it's AI generated. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I would love to find some of these artists that these AI generators were trained on. You know, honestly. Oh, there's some art station. Though I think, if I remember correctly, isn't no, not art station. So this might actually be a good image, but like oh, this might actually be one of the artists this was based on. So let me see if I can actually find the guy. Hmm. Like DeviantArt, as far as I remember, actually allows AI art. No. Because last time I was like searching for um, spaceship designs, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and I got a bunch of them recommended. That led me to Deviant Art, if I remember correctly. Or even ArtStation. But I'd have to revisit some of the links that were just AI generated, you know. It's unfortunate. I just want human-made art, you know, because it's not like I'm not at all claiming the images the AI makes can't look quote good, you know. But when I'm as an artist, right, trying to learn something by essentially redrawing a reference or breaking it down, I'm not I'm not looking for a pretty picture to make pretty reference drawing, right? That's that's the most surface level analysis of the whole thing. I'm essentially trying to understand on a deeper level the decision making the artist, went through when he made the piece. That's essentially what I'm trying to do. Obviously, on my level that I'm at, I'm mostly concerned with trying to understand how to break up a larger image into smaller, manageable pieces, you know? So there's like this saying from a show that I recently watched, that if you if you divide a task, however monumentous, in manageable pieces, anything is possible, you know? And that's essentially what you are as an artist, as a beginner or intermediary, or really at any point in your art career, either trying to learn, improve upon, or retain, try to retain the knowledge of, So it's like that's the first step. And after you grasp that sort of initial understanding of the reference, right? You then try to understand or get a feeling of how the artist came to make all of these decisions, that then decided, you know, how the atmosphere um, came to be in the image, how the composition came to be in the image. And then, you know, you learn about how to actually see all of these things, So the issue with AI is just that there isn't all of these things going on because the AI doesn't understand them. So inevitably, you run into the issue that there wasn't any of that thinking. Because even if the AI is learning, by simply just copying what another artist made, it can't just do that because that would literally just be theft. So it needs to essentially mix and match from a bunch of different artists things together, you know? So they need to cleverly hide essentially industrialized art theft, which ends up, diluting this potent sort of knowledge, that you would otherwise gain as an artist by just simply copying that, because a normal artist that doesn't want to betray people would just do his study of a reference, right, and be like, nice, I did the study today from this reference for this purpose. If you care to look at it, this is what I made. by this artist, for example, right? He's not at no point trying to claim this work as like his masterpiece, Oh, I made this, now pay me money. But that's essentially where AI stops. It steals the art of someone, pretends it's its own creation, right? And then the companies that quote made the program is now charging you money to use it. So it's like, okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. It is so very sad. It is so very sad. I just want to filter. Honestly, I just recently heard like there is either at the end of this year or sometime 2026, which is essentially at the end of this year, right? Because we are way past the halfway point, you know. So at the end of this year, sometime past today, right? um, Sometime past today, there's gonna be like some sort of legislation, I think, going into effect, or the second half of it, that's gonna require like clear declaration of use of AI. But I think it's just gonna be another like mechanism of the EU to regulate large websites to essentially like put out propaganda for their political purposes instead of actually, helping the consumer decide, okay, I want to find art made by humans, for example. Because, like, I personally, I just want to find the art made by humans. If somehow it is made mandatory by some agency or regulatory body that everyone has to properly declare that their art is either made by them or by a generative AI, I would appreciate that. And I don't think there's anyone else out there who wouldn't. Because, like, why would you? It's not like saying you can't use AI. It's just saying, well, you can't lie to people about whether or not you used it. So tell the truth, essentially. I don't think there's anyone out there who's like, I don't want people to know the truth. The only people who would say that is people who lie. So, fuck you. Anyway, I'm yapping too much. I'm just looking for some other landscapes. I might just turn over to real life images and see if I can do something with that. But even that, sometimes you can't trust anymore. So. Anyway. I'm a bit tired today. I feel like it's gonna rain very soon. Very soon here. Even though there's a massive heat wave. Man. Well. Certainly, one thing I unironically can learn from AI, is uh, the big picture approach. Like the one thing AI does very well, or rather, the only thing AI does really well is like big picture capturing. You know, how do I explain this? Um, um, if you think back to the beginning of how AI started, and even now, still, a lot of the issues lie in the detail work. You know, when you look at some of the lighting, the consistency between different um, you know layers, for example, and by that I mean like the foreground, the mid and background, the consistency in shading, the point of the composition, that sort of thing. um, the AI is really terrible at. Composition less so, because it's more of a big picture aspect of an image. um, but it can also be more of like a detail uh, work thing. It's kind of I'm kind of missing the jargon, the jargon. How do you say this? Like the technical um, terms. Sorry, technical terms. To describe exactly what I mean. But what it is very good at is, you know, essentially the more big picture stuff. So proportion, for example, very good at proportion, very good at angles, for example, or perspective rather, um, on a large scale. It's good on pretty much most of the things that you can easily uh, measure mathematically, almost, if that makes sense. It's almost like it's a machine, And all the things that rely more so on fine tuning by a human, you know, it sucks at, It requires a bunch of engineers that have a feeling for this type of stuff. So at the end of the day, all of these companies end up hiring an artist to fine tune the fucking AI that ends up not necessarily taking away their jobs, because you don't really replace them anyway, but that's a different discussion. I'm yapping so much. I'm so sorry. But I just can't find anything, I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and all of this shit is just AI. Maybe I'm just in the wrong fucking um like recommendation like thing in the bob. Yes. I just want I just want landscapes, I want landscapes without any peoples. so tired. The best I could find is some art by or from Zelda, you know, some Zelda art, or rather, some art about Link. I don't know how to English how English how when English when. Ah, fuck! I shouldn't have clicked this away. Why I did this? Why have I did this? Terrible move. That was the wrong move. Oh man. Okay. Sometimes, a lot of times rather, Pinterest can be very frustrating. I wonder how other people do this. I wonder how other people do it. How do others do it? How do others do it? And they always just manage to find the worst offenders of fucking AI. It's like insane. They get the big pictures right, big picture stuff right, you know. Then you look at the details and it's like trash. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I mean, actually, this could be. Never mind. This. Wait, what? Why is this character? I mean, it could still be an artist that just draws like this for some reason. I don't understand why he would, but it's possible, you know? The stress of finding something. Anyway, I'll either find something or I don't. Let me see what sort of things I have. Okay, it's a pretty uninteresting angles, you know. I want something a bit more dynamic, you know. I want some more dynamic angles in my landscape reference, you know. I want something that's a bit more challenging than, okay, that's a flat, like, how do I say this? It's like a 2-point perspective, if even that, you know. I want something. That's tiring me out more than actually trying to draw something, you know. Finding the reference. It's like, ugh. Ugh. Come on, man. This is more like it, but I'm not interested in drawing a castle right now. Hmm. Huh? I'm so sorry about this. Like, I don't know how I'm so tired all of a sudden. Some of these drawings are very, very nice. Some of them are not. Or rather, a lot of them are not. Okay, let's just try and find some dynamic landscapes. Dynamic. Dynamic landscape. Can't find any saved pin. What? No, not my pins. All pins. Okay. Ah, yes. I think I've seen the real life reference for this drawing actually. Okay. Ah. I also should train more, like going from the unspecific into the specific detail work, you know? I'm not good at that. I always try to immediately go into like refining the idea in my brain, which I think is tiring me out and using a lot more resources than I should, you know? Which makes me take a lot of time or stop um, drawing a lot sooner than I would like to, you know? So, maybe I'll try. Hmm. Hmm. These are certainly very dynamic. So, okay, I should have just searched for it a little bit earlier, huh? That's a nuclear bomb. Okay. I mean, I guess that's a dynamic landscape, yes, because it's changing like rapidly right now in this moment. That's some very interesting sketching. I just want to get to drawing. Honestly, this is like tilting me, but I need to just remain calm, you know? I just want to remain calm. Remain calm. I would prefer some like real life photographs, like some actually dynamic and interesting images, you know, that I can use. But who knows if I'm capable and ready for that sort of thing. That looks like a European castle of sorts. Damn. That's some interesting stuff. I'd also be interested in doing like some sort of stylized um what's the word or how do you pronounce it in English? Like tarot tout tarot tout I don't know. Like these like cards for essentially telling the future. I don't know how to say this in English. Because English is a dog shit language. Because you don't just say what you read, or rather, you don't read what you say. It's fucked up in the head. Why would you do this? My brain is too German coded. Okay, I can't deal with it. I can't. If I read a letter, I wanna pronounce it as it as it's written. You know, I can't. My brain is not allowing me to. No, I can't do it like the Scandinavians. You know, I can't do it. I cannot. I did not. So anyway, there's not a whole lot. I mean, there's a lot of interesting pieces of art, certainly. but nothing that is currently helping me personally. And dynamic landscape photography, that is certainly very dynamic. Oof, it looks like the world is falling off. Okay. But this is not the type of image I want. You know? Is not what I want. Man, I've been looking at this for an hour. I can't. I can't. It's basically a week in review light without reviewing anything. I'm just yapping endlessly without a point or reason. Oh, man. I'm so sorry about this. Can't believe I've done this. Can't believe I would do this. Oh well. Alright. Let's see if Bobby has some interesting tutorials for us. Something to follow along with that I'd be interested in. Sorry. Drawing backgrounds to complete a scene. Environment perspective. Environment. Not so much as of late. Not so much. Probably more so on his like paid websites, if I had to guess. But even the stuff just on YouTube he's releasing from time to time is like top notch, you know? Top notch. Well, well, well. Well, well, well. Maybe. Okay. All right. Okay. I am trying to stand up here. This is a very interesting tree. Kind of looks like a bunch of stars. The leaves, I mean. If I didn't know better, this looks like an art piece made by Kyle, you know? Like the Patreon artist, you know? Edgelord. Dun, 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 dun. All right. It's time to just decide on something. And since that's not gonna become easier the more I look, I'll just uh, I'll just pick something that catches my eye now. Anything at all. whatsoever. Hmm. Hmm. That's very well drawn. Very well drawn. Very nice. Let's put this in gesture. Alright, so. Okay, I don't need this. Don't want that. Don't want that. No. Hmm. Dynamical landscape photography. Photography. Hmm. I'm so indecisive. I don't know why. I just want an image that gives me inner peace, you know? And I want to draw that. And I want to let go of that fucking inside voice constantly nagging, you know, that tells me I need to produce something right this moment. Like, I'm not employed anywhere with my art right now. I don't need to produce anything. If it takes me 15 hours to find a single image to draw, that's how long it's going to take me. However long it's going to take me, it's going to take me, you know? Why else would I take a week-long break from drawing, you know? I essentially spent the whole week not drawing, not touching a single pen. Well, not entirely true. I did touch a pen, but I didn't draw anything consequential. Just a few doodles, very small spaceship design attempts. Just off the top of my head, you know. Didn't produce anything worth or of note, rather. So, Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. That is one hell of a fucking image. I wish I knew whether that was like a real image or not. I I don't think it is real though. Like, where would you have to stand? Yeah, no, this is AI generated. Nah, this would have to be like, where even? Like, on top of some fucking mountain. And this would have to be right before, like, the rainy season in like some Southeast Asian country, you know? Like, sorry, I'm just talking to myself essentially about this one image I'm looking at here. It's essentially like a woman standing on the side of like a metal platform, and you see in this massive, like thunderstorm cloud that's building up in the background, which is not actually a thunderstorm cloud. It's like, what do you call it in English? Let me see. Let me see if I can translate it. Monsoon. Okay. Can I get monsoon? Okay, it's basically the same as in German. Okay, just a little bit monsoon. Slightly different pronunciation. Monsoon. 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 Okay, well, monsoon. 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 Massive fucking, monsoon in the background. Feels so weird, speaking a different language but saying basically the same word. Kind of feels weird. Disgusting. I feel like I'm stupid, which I am, but more stupid than usual. I want peace and quiet and love and smallness and beauty, all in one image. That's what I want. Perhaps I should pick up photography as well, and then I'll go around in my own country and take these sorts of images, and then I'll draw them. Because, I can't wait for someone else to take these images, because obviously they don't exist. If I want to capture the atmosphere, I have to go out and find the places myself, In the end, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. Okay, same image. Okay, now Pinterest starts looping the fucking images already. That's cheap. Wow, thank you, Pinterest. That's exactly what I want from you. No, why show me new images if you could just start looping the old ones? That's, wow, amazing. Thank you. Wow, yeah. Now it starts showing me images that I am not looking for. All right, you know what? I'll go on a short break here. Step away for a second. Come back and I'll just grab an image and get to drawing. Maybe this one actually. But yeah, we'll see. I'll be right back. Sorry that it's taking this long, have to get back into this whole thing, I guess.